What's going on, fragrance family? It's your man Gator, better known as the novice nose out here in these fragrance streets. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about a fragrance that I had been waiting on forever, man. I think me first started talking about Frostbite maybe 6-7 months ago. I mean, it's been a while. I know he's released like 6-7 different fragrances in the meantime before he even got to release Frostbite, man. But this was the one that overall I was the most excited about, with the exception of maybe Magnetic. I think that Frostbite was the one that really, just by looking at the notes and, you know, from what was given initially, was the one that I was the most excited about putting my nose on. So finally, the day has arrived when I get to do that. And I've actually worn it a few times now, so I can, you know, kind of speak to whether I was, you know, my excitement was justified or whether or not it just kind of failed on me, which, spoiler alert, I think the excitement was very much justified. This is the long-awaited Neeb creation here, French Avenue Aromatix Frostbite. See the bottle there in that typical Aromatix design here. Let me see if it'll focus. There we go. I like the coloration on this bottle, man. It is an amazing, you see the writing on the back is normal. How they do theirs. Let me see if I can get it to focus on it. Don't really matter, but but again, I love the coloration on here. The presentation on all of those Aromatix fragrances is top notch anyway. But this one, the coloration just kind of struck me, you know, when I first saw it. Now, when you hear the word Frostbite, normally you think, oh, this is gonna be, and you see the color scheme on the bottle, you're like, oh, in the box as well. As a matter of fact, got the box right here, you know, that beautifully done blue here. And it kind of sits in. You guys know what the Aromatix fragrances look like, I think. But if you don't, the presentation, top notch. I love the presentation on the Aromatix series, man. Just kind of flips open like that. But going by the bottle and the box, you would think, and the name, you would think, okay, we're gonna get into a fragrance that's gonna be like cooling and it's gonna have a little bit of a frosty nature to it, and it's not. It's not that. I don't know if that was the original plan for it, but it doesn't come across that way at all. But the notes in here are kind of indicative of that coloration here. And let me get into the notes right quick. So you got top notes of blueberry, mango, and apple, bergamot, and cardamom. Got mid notes of lavender, geranium, jasmine, violet, vetiver, and pink pepper. Now, you guys know I'm a geranium fan, I'm a violet fan, so you know that line right there just spoke to my heart, right? And then you have your base notes of amber, vanilla, sandalwood, patchouli, ambergris, cedar, and oak moss. All right, so I can tell you this much: the blue. And when you see the blue, you think about the blueberry that's in here. That is a huge contributor to what you get when you first spray this thing on. So let me go ahead and do that right quick. Let me get a little bit of a spray here. Of course, Aromatix fragrances are gonna have that beautiful atomizer, that beautiful atomizer here. Very well done. From the bottles, I remember when I first saw the Aromatix bottles, I was like, oh, they're kind of goofy, but they've grown on me a lot. I kind of like that, the imprinting of these bottles here. They really are a well presented fragrance. So when you first spray this thing on, you're getting the blueberry, but it's not something that's really just like overwhelmingly blueberry. It's not sticking out. Instead, what you're getting is kind of this beautiful, balanced blend of all of the fruity notes. You got the apple, you've got the mango, you got the blueberry, you've got the bergamot. You've got all of those things, and they're balanced so well that at different times you can kind of catch more of a hint of one of the other, but it's done so well that they just kind of all play together harmoniously. And it's just like when you first spray it, you just get all of it at once. It's almost like taking a fruit basket with all of those fragrances in it, and or better yet, you know what, taking that fruit basket, throwing all of those things in a blender, blending them up, popping that top open, and just smelling it, just kind of bringing it in, right? So it gives all of those things from that opening here. Now, I catch a little bit of an ambery touch as well when you first open this thing up. And it really colors the way that this thing transitions into the mid, right? So you're getting that amber that comes in, and you know, amber kind of presents a little wave for all of the fragrance notes to kind of balance on. And it does that so well in here. So you're basically getting almost this jammy kind of vibe here. You got all of those fruit notes that are kind of an amalgamation into one, and then the amber in there kind of gives it a little bit of a jamminess to it, a little bit of a density here, so it doesn't come across as, you know, fleeting. It comes across as kind of like a robust fruit blend, and I love it for that. Now, the biggest thing that I was excited about with this fragrance was the geranium. Oh, and by the way, in that opening, you're also getting a little bit of lavender in there. Like, the lavender's like not like a sharp, over presenting lavender. It's just there to kind of, you know, follow baseline and help lift this thing up a little bit, kind of lift give it a little bit of a clean vibe. But at the same time, you're getting a ambery, jammy kind of fruit vibe as well. Now, it's not overly jammy, by the way. That amber just gives it a little bit of density. Now, this is the part that I love about this, and that's geranium. And the geranium comes in really, for me, gives it probably around that first 20 to 30 minute mark. You start really getting that influence of that geranium, and it is a very well done geranium here. It is definitely a high quality, kind of has a little bit of a mintiness to it, but it is definitely a driver in this fragrance. It really kind of, to me, kind of pushes this fragrance into more of that blue territory. Now, some people might not like geranium for the fact that it does come across as a little bit more of a mature note most of the time when you're dealing with fragrances. A lot of more mature blues, as a matter of fact, have that geranium in there, and it just kind of adds that beautifully distinguished floral touch to a lot of blue fragrances here. And a lot of those old school classy fougere style of fragrances, that those barbershop kind of fragrances, this one does that as well. But with the way that the fruits are blended in here with that ambery nature kind of going with it, it doesn't feel dated. It actually allows, the geranium actually comes in and just kind of classes it up even a little, takes it up a little bit of a notch as far as the classiness goes. So it's not something that's gonna feel old fogey or anything like that when you're dealing with this geranium. It's gonna actually just kind of add a little bit of a distinguishedness and add a little bit of versatility to that fruit blend, because a lot of times when you have a really fruity fragrance, sometimes it can come across as a little bit too youthful, a little bit too F-boy, as they say. But this one, with that geranium in there, the way it works, it actually kind of pulls it back from going all off the deep end with that fruitiness, and just kind of brings it in and just adds, just like I said, a little bit of class to it. Now, those things are beautiful, and it really just kind of colors this fragrance into the deep dry down. Now, you're getting the moss. I get some of that oak moss in here. I don't really get as much vanilla until like the far dry down. Like, I don't really start getting a good dose of the vanilla until probably around that 3-hour mark, and it's really at that point starting to become a skin scent. So you're kind of picking up little bitty wafts of vanilla going into like that 3-hour mark there, along with a little bit of earthiness from that patchouli here. Now, I really dig the fact that they've got the woods in here. You've got your sandalwood, you've got your cedar, and they become really, really present actually around that hour to hour and a half mark. You start getting, along with that little bit of an ambery fruitiness and that geranium, you start getting a little bit of a cedar essence that kind of comes up from the bottom of this here. And cedar, that wood there is kind of is a little bit sweet. I paused before I even got to the sweet part, so you can't even hold me to it. But it actually adds kind of almost like, if you know cedar, I usually call it my Home Depot scent. It adds kind of a woody but slightly kind of sweet kind of vibe to it, and that cedar is definitely present here as it kind of goes into that second hour and third hour here. You're really getting a lot of it. I think sandalwood's there mostly in texture. I don't really pick it up as far as like, oh my gosh, this is a sandalwood woody kind of vibe as far as the smell, but texture wise I do kind of get a little bit of that influence of the sandalwood here as well. As far as performance goes, I mean, you're looking, when you first spray it on, this is one that is surprisingly strong. Be careful because you'll spray it, and it's one of those that you can go anosmic to very easy. I find that a lot of fragrances that have that amber present in the beginning of the fragrance, like if it's like a very present baseline note, you tend to go anosmic to them a little bit quicker. And a lot of fruity fragrances, you get that too. This is no exception to that because it takes both of those. So when you first spray this, just be careful, be mindful. You may not smell you, but trust me, other people will. I would give it maybe about 4 sprays, 5 sprays max here. And trust me, that 4 or 5 sprays will do the job on this one here. Put it in your right spots and go with it. But I get probably about an arm's length projection when I first put this on here. Sillage is amazing all throughout the life of this thing. And I'm getting somewhere in the range of about 8 to 9 hours on this when I wear it. Now, there's not 8 or 9 hours of this, not 8 or 9 hours of strong projection. I get somewhere in the range of about an hour and a half, 2 hours of that arm's length projection. And then it really starts to kind of shrink in here. I say probably around that third hour here. It's probably maybe about 4 inches off of the skin there. You still, like I said, the sillage is still going to be going pretty strong the whole time, but you're going to get about 4 inches off the skin around that 3-4 hour mark, and that's kind of where it lies. It'll kind of go down to a pure skin scent probably around that hour 6, but like I said, you'll be getting a little bit of that vanilla, a little bit of the moss, and a little bit of the cedar here. It just kind of goes into like a dry, flatline, vanillic kind of scent off of the skin here with little hints of amber that are there probably around that 5 or 6 hour mark. I dig this a lot. And like I said, the sillage is going to be following you throughout the day here when you wear this. Overall, I really dig this. I knew I was gonna like this a lot when I first saw the breakdown, like I said, all that time ago. But now, actually holding it in hand and everything, I'm really digging this fragrance. It's a modern designer style of fragrance. I think this is definitely in that blue fragrance with a little bit of a touch of a Fugeri vibe kind of going on with it here. This is really good. This is really good. It's very clean, very crisp at the same time. And throughout that, you still have a little bit of an aromatic, or a lot of bit of an aromatic touch to it that's going to be different. When you spray this on, you'll smell different. It's not something that you're going to smell like the other people in the block. But at the same time, it's going to be one of those mass appealing style of fragrances that people really love to smell. I dig it, man. This is one that I'm going to get a good bit of wear on probably going throughout the year, and I'm looking forward to the next Aromatix release now. Okay, you got me, bro. You got me. So this is like 3 or 4 in a row that have really been like, oh, these are great fragrances, man. I think French Avenue Aromatics, that team is doing great work. Look forward to seeing what else they got coming up in the remainder of the year, guys. Have you put your nose on this thing? Let me know in the comments, guys. And as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share this video with somebody you know that loves fragrances. And as we always say, guys, no matter what you're doing, however you're doing it, make sure you make today the best day ever on purpose. Peace out.